Let's talk more about the string tokenizer. So if our data that's being read in from the file is Mr. Lupoli is the bomb, I need to change that, getting old there. But anyway, you've seen a couple of these lines already in the previous example of a string input line equals in file next line. So that means we've already connected the file. We already know there happens to be a line there, maybe within the while loop, as you saw in a previous example. And now we're getting that line by using next line. So that means the whole thing of Professor, Mr. L is the bomb. A whole line is now pulled in and called input line in this case. Now remember, these are really individual items, but in the individual items in Java, they're called tokens. So in reality, in the line that I have here, I have 5 different tokens. Notice they're all separated by either the forward, most portion of the line, at the beginning of the line, or the end of the line, or spaces in between. So that's how we get our 5 different values in there. Now, the tokenizer is going to break things up. That's our next line. It's new tokenizer. We're putting in the line. And now it's going to put it into basically a list, a string tokenizer list called Tokenizer, in this case on how we named it. Now, how do we access that is, again, very similar to what we would use in a list. So all of these items, Mr. would be in index 0, Lupoli would be 1, is and 2, duh, and I think you can figure out the rest of that. The tokenizer is going to have its own functions as well, like has more tokens. The interesting part is every time that we start gathering tokens from it, that we're going to start minimizing or reducing the list that itself. So first, if it has more tokenizers, we need to check. There's plenty of tokens in there. If there is, then we go ahead and grab the value from the next spot in the overall tokenizer list, which is next token. So the first one would be Mr. Then if we're called next token, it would grab the Lupoli. Then grab the next token, grab the is, and it would keep going from there. Then we have another function if you really wanted to count how many tokens were actually in the list. So I want you to think of these really, even though it's called a tokenizer, it's really a list of strings. So notice, by the way, I didn't say list of integers or anything else like that. We still need to convert any data that happened to be in here, that happened to be a number or a float or something like that. We would still need to convert it eventually, but we got to get it out of the tokenizer list first, and then we can do our conversion from there, which really is kind of what's going on here from the example in use here, scenario number 2 of a couple of things that were in the notes previous, is that we're going to go ahead and look through has next token and go ahead and look through and grab all of the information that is in that line and then start breaking it up. Now notice name, by the way, I didn't need to cast it to anything else because it's a string. Department was already a string. Title was already a string. A salary, though, I did have to. And notice I had to do an integer.parseInt and then tokenizer.nextToken. So there has to be a pattern in this file of what we've been reading in. Had to be a name first, had to be department next, title must have been after it, and then the salary. It must have been that way, and it must have been that way for every line in order for this code to work. But that's how we use the tokenizer to go through each line read in, break it up first, and then start converting it using our parseInt or something of that nature to get it into the data set that we really want it to be.